Hi, welcome back. I am really excited for today's video because I'm talking about my Best of Beauty 2022 so far. So this is my mid-year favorites, everything that I've loved that I've tried in 2022. For the purposes of this video and for brevity, I am going to be talking about either new releases or products that are new to me. And the reason why I include that last category is because, I am a beauty creator. I do keep up with new releases and I like to test and try new releases, but I also don't consume only new things. Sometimes I try things that are new to me, but maybe aren't exactly new to the market. And so I wanted to include a space for that here too. I did a mid-year beauty favorites video last year, and it was actually really helpful because by the time I got around to doing my annual roundup at the end of the year, it was a really helpful reference point and just allowed me to see which products stayed with me throughout the year and which products were just kind of a momentary thing that I had liked, but I had kind of forgotten about by the end of the year. I am wearing a full face of these favorites, so you're going to see the demo in action, and I will also try to cut in any video clips I have of products that I mentioned but I didn't use on my face today, just so you can see what they actually look like and how they perform. I would love to know what your mid-year beauty favorites are. Let me know in the comments, just because I'm always curious what people are actually using. Everything I talk about today will be organized. I'll have timestamps, I'll have links, I'll have shade names for everything in the description box below, and I'm going to go in order of application. All right, we are starting with base makeup, and of course we're starting with primer. So there are two primers that I have really been using nonstop this year. The first one is not a surprise, it's the Sisley Double Tensor Primer. This is one that is very hyped and it's very expensive, and I don't recommend it lightly. It is like a serum-y fluid, a clear fluid, but it gives you grip on your skin, and it's almost like a grippy serum. There's really nothing else like it that I've tried. I have described it as if Milk Makeup Hydro Grip were a little bit more fluid and thinner in texture. I really love this on the perimeter of my face because it does add quite a bit of glow. So, in the winter, I might go all over my face, but during the summer, I've been using this on the high points of my cheeks, and it really grips onto cheek makeup like cream or liquid bronzers, highlighters, blushes. It just really makes sure that they are stuck on the cheek for the day, but it doesn't feel like anything. It's really weightless. So I've been loving that, using it nonstop. The other one that I love is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Mattifying Primer. Now, generally, I'm pretty picky with mattifying primers because they can get a little bit cakey, heavy, they're overly silicone-y. This one is so surprising. It almost looks at first like a silicone primer, but it doesn't contain silicones. And I don't know how they did it, but it has this gel cream, very, very lightweight consistency. And there's no silicones in it, but it does mattify the skin. And it has this like cooling dry down effect that feels really nice and like soothing on the skin. So actually when I wear both of these, like I've done today, I wear a little bit of this in the T-zone. I just kind of tap it around my nose and the center of my face. And then I tap a little bit of this on my cheeks, and I do a little primer concoction. If you're combo like me, you get what I mean. The different parts of your face need different things from primer. For foundation, there's actually one I've been using these last couple of weeks that I have not shared on YouTube yet, and it's a very hyped up product, and it's the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I'm wearing it today. I don't know why I didn't think this foundation would work for me. It is described as a more radiant, luminous foundation, so I think that made me assume that it wouldn't work for me, especially in the summer when I'm a little bit oilier. But this has really surprised me. I'm wearing the shade 6, a great shade match for me right now. It is surprisingly lotion-like. It's a little bit thicker, not quite as fluid as I expected. It has this really creamy quality to it that somehow grips the skin. It doesn't just slide around, and a lot of luminous foundations can be like that, but this has the ability to really hang on to the skin and hang on to where you apply it. It is luminous in finish, but it isn't oily or emollient to touch. So it actually has a lot of longevity on the skin. It lasts all day long, even without primer. And it has this way of making my skin look really creamy. I look well hydrated and moisturized and plump and bouncy. Powder wears really beautifully on top of it, and I'm just really impressed with it. I would say this is buildable to a medium coverage, definitely not full. And you can sheer it out if you just use like one very thin layer. I really like foundations in the light medium category, so this has just been a real win for me. And I really like the squeezy tube with a pump. That's generally my favorite kind of packaging. Another skin-like foundation that I've loved this year is not new, but it's new to me, which is the Chantecaille Future Skin Foundation. I wear the shade Cream. It's a beautiful match for my skin tone. This is so undetectable on the skin. There's really no other foundation I can think of that I apply and it just doesn't look like I have anything on. It's definitely a lighter coverage, I would say, than the Charlotte Tilbury. It's more of a light coverage, but it's a beautiful everyday kind of foundation. It's very skin-like, it's radiant without being emollient. Do you sense a theme here? It just looks like really freshly hydrated skin. It's not my favorite packaging. I don't love the jar packaging. It's sort of inconvenient and I feel like potentially unsanitary, but the finish on the skin is so stunning that I'm willing to overlook it. And my one other point of feedback is that I wish this came in a more expansive shade range because it is so beautiful on the skin and I would just love to see more deep shade options. For concealers, there's just one that took me by storm this year. It's the Dior Backstage Concealer. And this concealer is so full coverage, but skin-like. It has a really cool packaging. So much like the Dior Backstage foundation, it has this like matte, soft silicone packaging. The best part is that the applicator is a brush. It's like a teeny tiny brush, and it's not just a gimmick. It actually works to give you a lot of control over the application. Obviously, I use a different tool to blend out the concealer once I've applied it, but it does help you prevent over application as you're applying it to the face. I wear the shade 2W, which is a perfect match for me. I'm a 2 Warm Olive in the Dior foundation line. This is really beautiful because it's golden, but it's also not too warm. Like it's warm, but it's not orange or too red. It's a really creamy formula, but it also doesn't crease on me, like around my under eyes. It has enough body that I can use it around the under eyes or on the face. And it's just a very versatile product. It's also very full coverage. So I don't use a lot. I just do 2 dots around my eyes and dot it around any spots if I'm using it that way. And that's all I really need. But if you wanted to go like full coverage, you definitely could if you wanted. So I like that it's very adjustable. It's a very flexible formula. That's it for base products. Let's talk about cheeks. I want to start with highlighter actually, because I have not given this product as much love as it deserves on my channel. This is the Milk Makeup Bionic Glow in the shade Virtual. The Bionic line came out, I think in February or March, and it's a whole family of gel products, liquid gel products for the cheeks. So there's bronzers, there's blushes, and there's highlighters. The bronzers and blushes are also beautiful, but I feel like this in highlighter form has really stuck with me. So I use this as a liquid illuminator. It is so beautiful. I'm wearing it right now. I do have another highlighter like right on the tops of my cheekbones, but this is what I have kind of diffused around this C area of my face, from my brow bone around to my cheekbone. Virtual is a beautiful rosy champagne shade, but to me on my skin tone, it just kind of looks like a natural lit from within glow. And I think the gel formula works especially well with this liquid illuminator because it doesn't add any heaviness to the skin. So it's very thin, it's sheared out really easily. I like to apply it with a brush or with a sponge like I did today. And it's not shimmery, it's not sparkly. It does reflect light, but in a really diffused way. So it's not metallic at all. It just kind of looks like glossy, hydrated skin. And that's the kind of highlighter I'm generally into these days. I don't go for something super, metallic or sparkly or glittery. There are a couple of exceptions, which you'll hear me talk about, but for an everyday, beautiful, like skincare-like glow, this is definitely one to try. For something blingier, I have loved the Chantecaille, what's this called? The Sunbeam Cheek and Eye Shade in the shade Ray. This is their summer collection. It's limited edition, and it's this beautiful rosy champagne. It has definitely a bit of sparkle to it. It's a very refined sheen. It's not like a chunky sparkle, but it is something that makes you look like you're wearing highlighter. However, because it is a baked gelée formula, it actually buffs into the skin so beautifully, and it gives you more of like a wet looking cheek rather than a glittery cheek. And of course, the packaging is stunning. If you are much lighter than me in skin tone, this will be more of a blush topper for you because it has that rose, champagne, gold, peachy undertone. It does have a bit of pigment. You can also wear this on the eyes, and I actually think I may do that more often than I do on the cheeks because generally I'm not going for a really blingy highlighter look. But I love the versatility of this, and the shade is so stunning. If you have a deeper skin tone, this is going to absolutely be gorgeous on you. And because this shade is so versatile, you can use it as a blush topper, as an eyeshadow, as a highlighter. It's something that I've used a lot, and it just brings me a lot of joy. It's just such a beautiful object that I can't help but love it. Oh, and let me give you a swatch of Ray, actually, just so you can see. I'll give you a swatch right here. You can see that like rosy champagne quality, and you can see how shiny and reflective it is. It's so beautiful. When it comes to bronzers, I'm very much a creature of habit. You guys know I love my Persona bronzer stick in the shade Sahara. I love my Victoria Beckham Beauty bronzer in the shade 02 for a powder bronzer. But there is one recent product in my life that has taken me by storm, and it's the Makeup by Mario Transforming Skin Enhancer. I have the shade medium. I just did a dedicated review on this a couple of videos ago, so if you're curious about the details, do check that out. It's a cream bronzer, but it's more of like a tint. It's not super pigmented, and so it does add warmth to the face, but it has this sheerness that makes it very wearable. Like, I could wear this even if I weren't wearing foundation, just to warm up the skin, and it would not look unnatural. It would still give me a really beautiful glow. There is a tiny bit of pearl running through this that adds some life and luminosity to the cheeks. And the shade medium is perfect for me to warm up the skin. It's not a contour shade, it is warm, but it's not orangey or too red or too anything. It's just like the perfect milk chocolate kind of shade. It's definitely mistake proof. You cannot over apply this. It's so easy to blend because it's so sheer. So this is very beginner friendly makeup. And my favorite cheek category, of course, is blushes. And I think 2022 has been a really good year for blushes. It's actually been a really good year for makeup in general. This first one that I'm going to mention, I think, is the only powder blush on here, and it's not new to the market in 2022. It's relatively newish, but this is new to me. It's the Tom Ford blush, Shade and Illuminate blush in the shade Peach Poison. This is a powder blush, but it almost behaves like a cream. It has this really soft, velvety, blurred blendability, and it just looks so stunning on the cheeks. This is the perfect summer shade. I've raved about this many times. I have done like a full wear test and everything in a previous video, so you can search my channel for that, but I am very tempted to get more shades in this formula because it just blends out like butter. And it's powder, it's a powder formula, but it doesn't look powdery on the cheeks. The more you buff it in, the more skin-like it gets. So this peach side is matte, but it's like a creamy matte. This other side has a little bit more glow. It's not sparkly, it's not even really shimmery, it just has a little bit more luminosity on the skin. Then I have a product I recently reviewed. These are the Make Beauty Heat Stroke Dewy Gel Cheek Tints, I think they're called. These are very luminous, they're sheer, they're juicy, they kind of stay dewy on the cheeks. So if you like that, or if you have dry skin, you will love this. They give you that like glazed cheek look, and the shades are stunning. The two shades that I've used the most often are Swelter, which is a beautiful berry. This is that like juicy berry tint, and they sheer out really beautifully on the skin. I also love the shade Inflamed, which is just the most beautiful like poppy orange blush. And there's also a terracotta shade that's somewhere in one of my makeup bags that I tested in this review video. I did do a dedicated Make Beauty recent makeup video, like maybe 4 or 5 videos back. So if you're curious about the formula, check that out. But these are just like beautiful, juicy cheek shades. You can see these sheer out beautifully. They do stay dewy on the cheeks, but they somehow have this way of gripping on. And so they don't break down throughout the day, even though they're dewy. And they have a surprising amount of longevity, even though they're luminous and they are a gel texture. So I was really impressed by these. They lasted all day long on me, and they just give you that beautiful like popsicle stain, but for your cheeks. Here is a product that was not a new formula in 2022, but they did release new shades, and this is the Patrick Ta Double Take Creme and Powder Blush in the shade She's Baked. So I think this is a shade that was in their holiday palette, you know, their 6-pan palette, and they released it as its own palette, its own singles or double palette. And She's Baked is a really beautiful red-based blush. It's not quite terracotta, it just has this like kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I'll just swatch it for you. It's almost like a red meets a berry. There's definitely a bit of warmth to it, as you would expect from a shade called She's Baked, but it's not exactly like a brown-based red. It has some brightness to it. So this is actually a really beautiful summer blush, I think, because it gives you that like fake sunburnt kind of look. It gives you that like toasty cheek sort of look. And if you're not familiar with this formula, you have a cream blush and a powder blush, and they actually recommend you do powder than cream, I think. Either way, however you use it, whether you use these formulas on their own or together, it's a beautiful shade. And I also love She's So LA. I love She's Blushing. That's another new shade that they released this year that's more of a neutral rose. So yeah, I think She's Baked though is definitely my pick. I can't remember if I've reviewed these on YouTube yet or not. I definitely have on Instagram. These are the new Persona Cosmetics blushes. They have 3 shades, and you know, I mentioned how much I love their bronzers. So this is the same multi-stick formula, but they released blushes. Okay, so there's 3 shades. They're all very different. This is the shade Teddy, which is, you know, that beigey rose, lovely, warm. The middle is the shade Bubble, which is a bright pink. It looks very, very bright, but when it's sheared out, it just gives you a really fresh pop of color on the cheeks. And then you have Kiss, which is like a cherry red. And all of them blend out beautifully. They have great longevity, and they apply really evenly on the skin. And I think this is a very true cream blush formula. And what I mean by that is that they have a bit of body, they blend out beautifully, they set to a skin finish. They're neither too dewy nor matte, and I think they're really easy to use. You can use them with fingers, a sponge, or a brush. They're kind of mistake proof, I think. I just reviewed the Chanel Water Fresh blush formula, and I can't get enough of it. I think it's really special. It's very unique, and it's actually an innovative formula on the market. The shade Intense Coral, I just can't stop wearing. It's like my perfect summer blush. So real quick, these are watery serums that have pigment capsules inside, and they burst when you start to blend them in. And this formula is surprisingly pigmented. There are 6 shades. Intense Coral is the 4th deepest, I think, but that was just one tiny dot. You can definitely build up the pigment here, and it just gives you the most beautiful, glossy, luminous cheek. And it actually sticks around. This formula does set down. It goes through a bit of a texture change and it becomes a little bit grippy. And so it surprisingly has longevity and a good wear time on the skin, even if you're combo oily like me. This is something I've reviewed on Instagram, but I don't think I've had a chance to review here yet. This is the new Rouge Visage palette. So Rouge, the fashion line and the makeup line, is rebranding, and I think their new brand is called Le Fil de Rouge. I don't know if that's how you say it in French, but this is, I mean, just look at this palette. It's stunning. It's me in a palette. If I ever were to design makeup, it would look like this. It has the beautiful tortoise component, and you open it up and there are 6 cream cheek products. So you get 3 highlighters and 3 lip and cheek formulas. The highlighters are very luminous. I have a mix of the pink and the champagne just tapped on the highest point of my cheek. So that's where that really like concentrated highlighter is coming from, but you can definitely sheer it out too. These are a glossy kind of dewy formula. And the lip and cheek products are actually a bit stiffer, which is good because they give you really long wear on the cheeks, and you can wear them on the lips too. So there's 3 shades. You get like a neutral rose, a bright poppy coral, and a deeper berry. So honestly, if you were looking for like a one and done cheek palette and you like cream products, this is a beautiful palette. It's not only beautiful to look at, it's also beautiful in use, and I've used all of the shades. You could also use the highlighters on the eyes. It's a bit dewy for me because I have oily eyelids, but it is an option if you want to wear it that way or if you want to travel with just one palette. I just think it's stunning, and they knocked it out of the park with this. Something I've actually been doing a lot is just taking a brush into these blush shades, and I'm just gonna top off the blush that I have now. I just take it directly into the palette and then just stamp it on my cheeks, and it's such a good formula. It's a very like sturdy cream blush formula. I don't know how else to say it. It's kind of stiff, but that means it really, really lasts. I mean, I have like 8 cheek products on right now because I wanted to demo as many things as possible. But if you do want a dedicated review of this product, let me know because I'd be happy to do one. And then Phytosurgeons came out with new shades of blushes very recently. It's called the Toasted Blush Collection. This is the shade Evaporate, which is like a toasted version of their Smolder blush, which is a warm peach. This has such an interesting shade. So if you're not familiar with their cream blushes, but these blushes are pigmented, they really stick around. They're some of my most long-lasting cream blushes, and if you have oily skin and you've struggled with cream blushes lasting, try these. They will definitely stick around, and they're indie, they're amazing. So this is the shade Evaporate. Looks like this. It's kind of this like neutral peach, and this is the shade. Tell me that isn't such an interesting shade. It's like a muted nude peach, but there's this kind of mauvey quality to it too. I don't know if the camera is gonna pick it up, but I am really excited that they have been formulating new shades of their blushes. I love their permanent collection, but I feel like, you know, they had their classic blush shades down, and now they're experimenting with slightly more complex and sophisticated shades, and this is definitely one of them. And this is the shade Evaporate, again, if you're curious about it. Phytosurgeon's products have been going in and out of stock like crazy. They're just flying off the shelves. They're a very small, like essentially two-person brand. So just keep an eye out for restocks. I don't know what their stock will look like at the time that I post this, but they do updates and restocks very frequently. The blush that I'm wearing today is one of these new blushes from Half Caked Beauty. Again, I'm always saying this brand is so underrated. These are called the InSync liquid blushes, and these are no joke. They're pigmented, they're beautiful, they're this kind of stiffer liquid formula, so they hold their shape when you press them out, and I like to blend it out on the back of my hand and apply it with a brush. They're a really sturdy formula, and what I mean by that is they have a bit of body. They don't slide around, they blend out really evenly, they have a sturdiness to them in their application, and they are just not these like sheer glossy kinds of products. These actually like stick around on the skin, but they still look really skin-like and they're easy to work with. I'm wearing the shade the new Classic today, which is a beautiful pinky peach. I also love Brown Sugar, Maybe Baby, Delicate Drum. I mean, they're all beautiful. And these are $9. So again, extremely underrated brand, and you have to try them out. Moving into eyes, I have definitely found myself moving increasingly away from large format eyeshadow palettes. There are a couple in here, but for the most part, this has been a year of quads or singles, cream and liquid eyeshadows, that sort of thing. There is one eyeshadow palette I have to mention. It's the Tom Ford Tiger Eye Quad, and this is their new eye color creme formula. So this is a cream to powder formula. The shade Tiger Eye, or the color story Tiger Eye, is obviously my kind of thing. There's a light gold, a pinky peach, a neutral bronze, and a deep plum. And these are all pretty shimmery. I would say the plum is the least shimmery. It's more of a satin. The first three are definitely more metallic. I just really like a cream to powder formula. And obviously when Tom Ford released this formula, I was curious, and this is a very easy one and done eyeshadow palette. If you're not a fussy makeup user, or you don't care about glitter or impact or pigment, you just want something that's gonna perform well and make you look polished and sleek, this is a formula you'll like, because you can take any of these shades and blend it out across the lid all over, or one or two of these, and they blend out like a dream. And they're not uber pigmented, but they just look really refined and beautiful and luminous in person. The one large format eyeshadow palette is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2. This is their rosy version that came out earlier this year, and it looks like this. I've done a full review of this. It has 2 cream eyeshadows, 5 metallic sparkly topper sort of shades, and 5 mattes. And this made me fall in love with the Patrick Ta eyeshadow formula. I had not tried their first palette, and I couldn't believe how beautifully this blended and how complex the toppers are. The metallics are so glossy and really dimensional on the eye. And I feel like this is a palette I can reach into, and I can use any of these eyeshadows as a single, or I can also create a more complex eye look. And I really love the versatility that this palette gives me. I loved it so much that I did get the Major Dimension 1, which I actually think I use a little bit more, simply because it's full of more neutral shades. It definitely leans warm. I wouldn't say they're exactly totally neutral neutrals, and they're definitely not cool toned, but I like warm neutrals, and honestly I reach into the mattes all of the time. The mattes are interestingly a drier matte formula. They're not your Natasha Denona's, they're not like dense and creamy, but they blend so beautifully. They're kind of like these velvety pigments that have a really airbrush diffused look on the eye once they're blended out. So let's talk about cream eyeshadows, liquid eyeshadows, glitter pigments, toppers, all of the fun stuff that I've really been into this year and that I reach for most of the time. Lately, I've really enjoyed just wearing a single pop of color on the eyes and just blending it out all over the lid, or having a more graphic eyeliner, and that's the way I wear color, because most of the time I mean, not today, but most of the time I'm wearing often very neutral colors. This is a new discovery that I mentioned in my June favorites. These are the About Face Matte Fluid Eye Paints. So the one that I mentioned is called Vertigo Flowers. It's this incredible lime green, and this stuff is no joke. It's super pigmented. It behaves truly like paint, and it can be very opaque, or you can sheer it out. It works really well as a liner because once these set down, they don't budge, but they're not thick or cakey. They don't get, I don't know, like crispy or crumbly the way that some matte liquid eyeshadows do. And then this other neutral is such a beautiful shade. It's called Capulets. And this is such an interesting, like taupey, putty kind of shade. If you like a matte shadow blended out, like all over the lid for an everyday sort of thing, this is a great shade for that. And it's a very interesting, yeah, like not quite cool, not quite warm, neutral taupe. I've also been loving the Violette FRU paint. This is their twinkling formula. Specifically, I love this shade. This is the shade Scarabée d'Or, and it's their twinkling green. I mean, it's called Scarab, so it's like that beetle wing green. And, you know, I think this formula can be divisive because it dries quickly. It's a liquid that dries quickly, and it can be difficult to blend out, but this, because it's twinkly, I find is easier to blend than their matte formula. And once this sets down, it is totally budge proof. I have this formula in a copper and in the Scarab shade, and I find this Scarab shade to be much more complex because it has that olive base, but it has this twinkling yellow gold flash to it. So it's not quite duochrome, but it's very, very eye-catching, and it looks great when it's opaque. It looks great when it's blended out. And yeah, the twinkling formula is just really forgiving, and this shade, I love it. Another fun glitter topper is what I have on my eyes today that I just have to mention. It's the Half Magic Beauty Glitter Pill, specifically in the shade Money Please. So this is a combination of gold and copper glitters. It's a lot like the Urban Decay glitters. I don't love this applicator, but I use it anyway because I like the color of the glitters. It just is the perfect like scattered light glitter, and I like that combination of the copper and that like antique-y gold. I just find it to be really flattering on my skin tone and also with the kinds of eyeshadow looks that I like to do. Let me know if you're curious to see more Half Magic Beauty on my channel. I've reviewed more, well, all of their stuff on Instagram, but not as much here yet. So maybe I'll incorporate that in an upcoming video. And if you're not familiar, Half Magic Beauty is the makeup brand started by the Euphoria makeup artist. Her name is Dawnie Davy. She's incredible. And so of course the makeup line itself reflects that Euphoria, fun, graphic, colorful, edgy aesthetic. Another single I've loved, this is not new, it's just a new shade to me, is the Charlotte Tilbury Walk of No Shame Eyes to Mesmerize. It's that whipped moussey consistency that I love. It can be really sheared out, or you can wear it built up, and it's that gorgeous, rusty, rosy bronze kind of shade. And the last eyeshadow formula I'll mention is the Espresso palette. This is the Sweet and Sour palette, and this is another cream powder hybrid. These don't look like much in the pan, but they have like pigment for days. These swatch out like nobody's business. So there's 3 matte shades, these ones, which I'll swatch for you now. These are super creamy. I'm actually wearing a blend of the taupe and the plum in my crease today, and they just blend and blend and blend. I don't know how they did it. Those were terrible swatches, I'm sorry, but they feel like a cream on the skin. See what I mean? They have that beautiful creamy texture. And then there's a silver glitter topper in here that is really beautiful. It has like a clear base, but it has this wet looking silver shift to it. I don't know if camera's gonna pick that up right there. These are very underrated. I would love for Espresso to come out with more color stories in this formula because it's such a fabulous formula. And I really think it's pretty unique on the market. For mascaras, there are two new to me mascaras that I really loved. So the first one is the Esom mascara. This one really surprised me. It creates the most beautiful fluttery lash, and it's not waterproof, but it doesn't smudge, and I don't know how exactly that works. And it also washes off easily at the end of the day. The wand looks like this, so it's got the bristle quality, but it also has this tapered end and a lot of separation. And so it just, yeah, it separates the lashes, it creates volume, it lengthens, and it's very, very black in formula. So it creates a lot of definition around the eyes. The Tom Ford Extreme Mascara is actually very similar to the Esom. The wand is actually quite similar. It's a little bit longer than the Esom formula, or the Esom wand, but it has a similar tapered shape and separation. The Tom Ford one is a little bit better at volumizing for me. So it does create a bit of a fuller lash look. The Esom is better at lengthening and creating that wispy look, but they're very similar. And this one is also not waterproof, but it doesn't smudge on me, and it lasts all day and it washes off easily. So these two have been two major hits for me. And then for eyeliners, these are the Make Beauty eyeliners. I just reviewed these in that recent Make Beauty video that I just talked about. I'm wearing these today. These are gel eyeliners. They come in a range of beautiful colors and they do not budge. They are creamy, they apply in a really pigmented way, they're blendable before they set down, and then once they set down, they don't move like at all. If anything, you definitely need to do a thorough cleanse to get them off at the end of the day because they are so good at setting down. Today I'm wearing the shade Retrograde. This is the maroon eyeliner that I have on, and then I'm wearing the shade Nebula just along my lash line to give my eyes a little bit of definition. Oh, and I'm wearing Retrograde on my lower lash line, just very subtly as well. The red, this maroon shade, I think is really nice, especially if you have brown eyes. It does make the brown pop a little bit. And then finally, we are closing out with lips. I shockingly don't have any new lip liners I think that I've tested this year. I just have my tried and true. I love my Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine. I love the Victoria Beckham beauty liners in 1 and 2. And I just use those over and over again. They're just what I love. Next, let me tell you about what I actually have on my lips right now. And it's also from Half Magic Beauty. These are their Mouth Cloud Soft Matte Lip Creams. And these are a very velvety lip formula. They're not mattifying, but they have that velvety matte finish. And I'm wearing a mix of my two favorite shades. So this is Mr. Cheeky Pants. It's like a very light peach. And this is Edward's Fantasy, which is like a berry shade. But I swatched them next to each other, and you can see what I did is I just mixed these two shades together for my perfect like peachy pink sort of lip. And I blotted it on to my lips with a finger, and I'm just going to reapply a little bit here because I've been talking for hours and it's probably blended off. So these have like a puffiness to them. That's why they're called the Mouth Cloud. They're not your traditional matte liquid lipstick. They have that blurred lip look kind of formula. It's a kind of formula that's been very popular in K-beauty for a while, and I'm really happy to see it in more Western brands because it's a very modern way to wear a matte lip. Especially when you have that blurred lip line, it looks very worn in, not like you're trying too hard, and it has that soft silicone feel on the lips that makes it feel really pillowy. Another similar velvety formula that I've been loving is the Estee Lauder Pure Color Whipped Mattes. So these are really under the radar, but it's a similar formula of that whipped, pillowy, velvety, blurred kind of formula. And again, these are not drying. They're super comfortable on the lips and they wear beautifully into the lips over time. So here are two shades I really like. This is 921 Air Kiss and 931 Air Shot. So that's Air Kiss and Air Shot. These formulas are all high pigment, but I really like to wear them as a blotted lip. You certainly could build them up to be like very, very opaque if you wanted to, but I think it's a combination of the formula and the application method that I really love. If you are into that blurred lip, you should really try the Amuse Dew Velvet. This is similar to these previous two formulas I mentioned, but it's sheer. And so it looks a lot more natural on the lips, and it's buildable, but it's definitely not like that rich high pigment formula. It's almost like this like soft velvety look, but it looks like your lips and it fills in your lip lines. I have the shade 05, which I think is beautiful. It's like this beautiful bright peachy shade. A couple of other lip stain formulas that I've been loving. The first one is the Gucci lip stain in They Met in Argentina. I've talked about this shade specifically before. It's just the most beautiful, like bright rosewood. So this is They Met in Argentina. It has a similar sheerness. You can build this up to be opaque. It's not quite as sheer as the Amuse. It's sort of somewhere in between the Amuse and the full pigment Estee Lauder shades. And it's not super matte, but it's definitely not glossy. It just has this like soft, again, a soft velvety stain. I guess there is definitely a theme here in 2022. On the much more affordable end, if you like a glossy stain, you should definitely check out the ColourPop Glossy Stains. This is one of their summer shades. It's called First Bite, and it's this really fun peachy coral peach kind of shade. These are very sheer. They're not as long lasting, but they have a bit of grippiness to them, and so they don't move around on the lip. So it is a stain, but it has some staying power, and it is shiny. These are a lot like the YSL glossy stains. It's like the affordable version of that they finally came out with. But it's really great. I mean, this formula is not streaky, it's not patchy on the lips. It does wear off, but it leaves a sheer stain behind, and it's really easy to reapply on the go. So I think they really nailed it with this formula, and it's like $8. Of course, you know, I had to mention the Make Beauty Serum Balm Intense formula. I also reviewed these in a recent video. They came out with like 13 shades. This shade Nude Nova is definitely my most worn. So this is almost like a lip jelly meets a lip gloss. They're shiny, they're balmy, they're very nourishing and hydrating on the lips. This is a more pigmented version of their original serum balm formula. So that is a swatch of my favorite shade, which is Nude Nova Plus. And again, these are not long lasting. They wear off easily, but you can apply them like you apply a lip balm. They're just so easy to apply. You can tell I love them because I have dedicated an acrylic case specifically to these. Another lip balm, this time a tinted version, is the Dior Mahogany Lip Glow. I've loved the lip glow for many years, but the shade Mahogany is new to me, and it has this beautiful brown berry stain. So if you're a fan of Clinique Black Honey, if you like berry kind of stains, this is beautiful, and it looks so good on the lips. It looks like it doesn't look like makeup because it has that sheerness, but it just gives your lips a little bit of life and a little bit of definition and plumpness, and it does have a slight mintiness, but it's super subtle. I'm very sensitive to menthol, and I don't even really notice it in the reformulation of this, but specifically Mahogany, it's just such a winner, and this one lives in my purse. There are a few true classic lipstick formulas that I do have to mention. One of them is also from Estee Lauder, and if you like a glossy lip, this will be for you. This is the Pure Illuminating Shine, specifically the shade 904 Dreamlike. It's just the most perfect glossy peachy pink. It's not super opaque, but it's really comfortable on the lips. It's buildable. and I feel like this shade has been really fun for spring and summer for me. One that really stands out to me as a new kind of formula, it's doing something different, is the Merit Signature Lipsticks. These launched earlier this year, and I have 2 shades, Slip and Cabo. Slip is a beautiful brown toned nude. You can see they're sheer, and they have this natural finish. They're not shiny, they're not matte, they're just something right in the middle. The other shade Cabo that I have, I can't find it because I think it's in one of my purses because I wear it all the time. It's like a sheer orangey red. And if you like a bright poppy lip, that will be the shade for you. I wear it all the time, which is why I can't find it. This is like the lipstick for lip balm lovers. It has almost like a matte balm quality to it, and it's not overly pigmented, so it doesn't feel like a huge commitment to wear. And it's very like everyday appropriate, daytime appropriate, office appropriate, anytime appropriate, really. Another lipstick formula that I mentioned in June favorites and Gabby also mentioned is the Gen C lipsticks. So Gen C is this really cute little indie brand. This is the shade Margaret. And specifically, I mean, I love the formula, but I actually really love this shade. It is a matte lipstick. It looks opaque in the swatch, but when you blend this out and create this blurred lip line on the lips, it's like a rosy nude that somehow makes your skin tone look a little bit brighter. And I don't know exactly how that works, but there's something about this shade, specifically if you're around my skin tone or lighter, that makes the skin pop, and it makes your features pop. And the last lip products are actually new. I got these in a couple of weeks ago, and I just posted swatches of them recently. These are the new shades of the Armani Lip Power. They sent these over to me. I'm not familiar with this lip formula, so both the formula and the shades are new to me, but these are from specifically their shade extension. And I think their extension mainly focused on nude shades, but look at this bullet. It's like this tall bullet. It has this sculptural quality. It's oval here and it's oval here, and then it like, I don't know, it changes in shape. So the cap is red. It has this teardrop shape, and that shape actually really helps with precision application, if that's what you're looking for. Okay, this is not my best swatching work, but you can get a sense of these. So this is 109, it's like a peachy pink. 110, which is my favorite, it's like a warm, spicy nude. 206, which is like a brick red, and then 507, which is a cherry red. This formula shocked me. The first day I got these, I swatched one of them just to try it on around the house. I totally forgot I had it on. It was really creamy but weightless. And I had it on like hours later when I looked in the mirror, and I had forgotten that I was even wearing it. I'd been drinking and eating, and it lasts and lasts. And I didn't realize that it's called a long wear lipstick, because when I applied it, I just thought, oh, it's like this kind of shiny cream finish. I just thought it was a cream lipstick, but it's creamy and long wearing at the same time. And this second shade, 110 especially, is like my favorite kind of nude shade to wear. It has a bit of, I don't know, like warmth to it, but it's also rosy, and it's the kind of shade that really wakes up my complexion. So that is it. We have reached the end of this video. I've been filming for hours. My table is a disaster, but this was really fun. As I mentioned, 2022 has been such a good year for makeup and for makeup discoveries. So please, again, let me know what you've been loving in the comments. I think I'm also going to do a similar video for skincare, fragrance, candles, lifestyle bits, that sort of thing. Another best of or mid-year favorites so far. So let me know if you want to see that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.